Welcome to the Support Raising Solutions podcast, where we help new and current ministry workers grow in being spiritually healthy, vision-driven, and fully funded Great Commission workers. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Callie Davis. I am the resource designer with Support Raising Solutions, and I am here with our special guest today, Mark Wilson, the Support Raising Solutions director in the flesh. So delighted to have you join us here, Mark.
What a pleasure to be here, guys. And we are delighted to talk today about some fun habits. And I know that not everybody's favorite subject, but certainly is one that is very helpful.
It's very helpful, and it's probably one of our most common topics we talk about when we consult with organizations and team leaders of how we can help them help their staff. Because healthy habits, or their lack thereof, is kind of one of the key factors that leads into staff kind of falling down in their support, not being able to raise new support in a good way because they haven't taken care of their partners. It's just that snowball that keeps on rolling. It reminds me of maybe a little bit more relatable story. My brother is a big runner, always has been. He used to be very competitive, ran through high school, could have run in college, but ended up just focusing on other things, but kept it up as a hobby. And he'd done a couple marathons, he kept training and running, but life has its ups and downs. He had gone through a season of not keeping up with his running, and one of his friends like, yo, Matt, you want to do this marathon with me? And without missing a beat, my brother Matt said, oh, sure, sounds like fun. Only he still didn't have time to start training. So the marathon rolls around, and my brother's still physically fit. He just wasn't marathon fit. So in his words, he made it to, I think, about mile 13, and the running had a very large disagreement with his physical capability. And he did finish the race. He will tell you it was one of the most painful things he ever did, and he will never do it that way again. And he knew better. He knew how to train. He had run marathons before, but he just kind of thought he could make it work without putting in that consistency. That he could just show up and somehow the stars would align and he'd be able to breeze through it. And I think the same thing can happen with our ministry partners. We think that if we're not consistent, if we don't kind of put that training time of consistently calling, connecting, getting the admin work done, we think that we can just show up and make it work, which really doesn't work. So Mark, dive in a little bit more of, that might be really relatable to fitness, but why do we really see that same outcome with people and their partnership team?
Well, as you guys know, investment and consistency produces results. And so it's not taking the Lord out of it, but if we are investing in things continuously, we see consistent output. And so I'll take Callie's story and I'll make it real personal for you guys. So I learned this at a really hard level. I got a new director role in my older organization. And at the same time, I was trying to complete a seminary degree. We had our third child, and we had lost my administrative assistant and a few things. So all of a sudden, my schedule got really full. And so full, in fact, that MPD was the last thing. Like even getting a communication out was significant, but it had gone on for a while, like not just a season, not just a fall, but actually about 2 or 3 years. And then I got this note in the mail one day, and the note was one of those ones that you pick up and then it kind of stops you in your tracks if you're paying attention to it. And the note was from a son, an adult child of one of my older supporters. And he wrote this very gentle note that said, hey, we just wanted to make you aware, maybe you weren't aware, but you continue to send correspondence to my father. And we're sorry to let you know that he passed away 3 years ago.
Oh, grief.
Yes. And so at that moment, you can imagine just the shame, the disappointment, I just wanted to hide, right? But the reality was I had let work and I had viewed ministry as the only thing. And then on the side, I would do MPD, which I didn't do. And so there wasn't a consistent, a lot like Matt's marathon. It was painful there. And so we want you to avoid those painful loss of partners or embarrassing moments. And we want to keep the partnership healthy. So when we talk to organizations, we have to help adjust a couple of things. One is we have to help adjust perspective, which is, what is MPD? Is it actually a part of your ministry, or is it something you do in addition? And then what we do with time, it's one of the things we measure when we help do survey organizations, and we kind of take in some data. And it is one of the most important points that we measure is, do you allow your staff to view it as part of their work week? And then how much time do you give them to do that? So those things. Anyway, Callie, that's a good start. Any questions you have about that part so far?
Well, I definitely want to dive into perspective. I think that is the single biggest issue around partnership development. It is so hard to hold onto a healthy view of that we're developing this partnership team, not just raising money, not just trying to keep the money going. And then a huge aspect of that is that keeping up with these partners is part of your ministry, not just what you did to get here, or it's not just what you do like after hours work or on the weekends, because that's not going to cut it. And also, I think it's really maybe even a little sad to try to relegate these people that you invited to participate with you, to be a part of this work with you. And they only get to do that on the off hours. They only get to connect with you and the ministry God is doing on the outside of those ministry hours. That feels at odds to me, but it happens. We have both seen it happen again and again and again. Mark, do you have any idea why? Why do people let that happen? Or why does it feel normal or common, maybe I should say?
Well, I think we have the mindset, and we've heard Steve Shadrach say it in the book, and Scott Moore and those other guys have talked a lot about this, but we see support raising as the venue to get to our real ministry. You know, we view ministry as sharing the gospel, discipling, whatever role. And we could be an HQ staff, but that's what we really do. And then we have to do this other part. So we kind of view it like basic training. I've done my basic training and now I'm in my real job, and I don't need to go back and do that. And it's actually a lot more like fitness for your job that you have to continually do, or it's on the job training or preparation, or it's professional upkeep, whatever you want to do. But it is a part that is consistent, and it helps you produce healthy results. And so, and I think we view partnership wrong. Maybe we say we're developing partners, and really we lean a little more transactional. So our understanding of what we're doing with those people might not be set appropriately in the beginning. I don't know, Callie, what thoughts what have you experienced there?
Well, I think the ministry work, what we got hired to do, often like that main role title, it can be a little more exciting than writing newsletters and calling people. It can be a little more compelling to be diving into those lives that are being changed, to developing those resources that you can see that impact is going to have. I mean, that's why we got excited about ministry in the first part. And if we kind of let that idea grow, that this is the interesting part, this is the fun part, this is the cool part, it can kind of suck the life out of the interesting, the cool, the amazing part of partnership development, because I think that's life-changing as well. God has called these people to participate with us. He is at work in their lives, connecting them to what you're doing. And that's incredible that he's using this work to change all your ministry partners' lives. And if you see that, that is really neat and really powerful. But I think sometimes we forget that. So it's a lot less glamorous. And so then it becomes something we procrastinate on. And then we're here having fallen back on doing nothing for our ministry department or ministry development. And we're trying to dive back in, and it is painful.
Yep. Leg cramps, shin splints, all that good stuff like your brother probably had.
So where do we start? Yeah. How about looking into, if we haven't been doing ministry partnership well, where do we start? Any easy first steps instead of trying to tackle everything at once?
Well, I think tackling everything at once is a big deal, but I think we have to start with that mental shift
Mm,
at some point to say, I I owe it to my partners to step up the relationship, and so I need a physical, like, just I need to make a commitment to seeing them in a different light. And I think until that changes, you can do the right things and get there. But I think it really helps to start having that perspective. And so it might be good to go back and reread the God Ask or read some of our articles on why ministries are partners, or um,
mhm.
ask. But the second thing I would do is to make sure, like, maybe even ask some questions around why you haven't been doing it. I think that's a
Mm,
really good diagnostic question. um, you know, do you not have space? Do you not feel the freedom? Do you feel like there's more work to do than you can be done? Like, what are you, because by choosing to not do it, you're choosing something over it. And so I think those would be two areas that I would look at as, why does it fall off your priority list? What are some thoughts for that you have, Callie?
mm. Yeah, I think the heart issue is something we blow past too quickly in probably almost every aspect of life. But the heart is where everything starts. So that was a wise word, Mark. Start there. And I loved your ideas of basically surrounding yourself with that positive perspective. You're basically borrowing someone else's perspective until you're starting to integrate it. So whether that's podcasts and the SRS podcast or another podcast, whether it's articles or books, you're just pouring into yourself that healthy biblical view until it starts to be kind of really adopted by your own spirit. And I think from there, uh, don't get overwhelmed. I think that's most often what I hear people do is they see, okay, I've done nothing. I see what I wished I would have been doing, and that is now a mountain. And instead of trying to tackle an entire mountain in a single step, just take a step. So whether that is write your next newsletter and send that out, and can you call your first 5 ministry partners, and just take a step, and then the next step becomes a little more manageable, and then before you know it, you've already reconnected with people, you've gotten a little bit of a rhythm, and then just keep chipping away. I would say is where to start is just start.
Yep. Yep. And any connection is better than no connection. And so it can be a thank you note. It can be a text message. It can be like Callie said, it doesn't need to be everything. I like that. That's helpful, because we turn that mountain of responsibility into one step at a time. So that's a very, very good advice there.
Well, once people get started, can we cast a little vision for what do we hope people develop into? What are the actual healthy habits, the healthy rhythms we want everyone to grow to be a part of their regular life as you have ministry partners? Where do you start with that, Mark?
Well, I think I'd love for you to talk about this, but let me frame this, and then I think you've got some really clear pictures here. But if you don't have an annual plan, it's really hard to know what you should do in your weeks. Now, not everybody functions this way. Some people really like knowing what to do today, but for me, I need to know what I'm doing now and next month, and that helps me determine what I should be doing today. And what I mean by that is, over the course of a year, there are certain kinds. When are you sending your thank you notes out? When are you doing your year and ask? When are you planning in referrals? When are you asking for increases? And if you schedule those in, and you have a season, you can build it around the ebb and flow of your ministry season. And so that way you're not overloading everything at the same time, and you're getting those little bite-sized chunks in. And so I think we should talk about, what does it mean to have a 12-month plan? So Callie, if you've got some great thoughts there, I know you do from Thrive, but yeah, take it away.
Yes. So if you haven't heard about it, we have a Thrive training. It's geared towards current staff. And if you're listening to this, we have an upcoming public Thrive. It'll happen in March. You can find more information at supportrisingsolutions.org. But that annual plan, that kind of picture of your entire year, it's exactly where I start, and it's where I tell everyone to start, because that's where you can notice where your big rocks in your calendar will be. So just kind of look at 12 months, whether that's you take a sheet of paper and you just write out 1 through 12, whether you have a year-long calendar that's color coded like me, because I do that. Take a look, and the things that you know that are going to happen that are going to take a lot of time. And this is personal, professional, and everything in between that will just take your margin. Notice where those fall in your calendar. So for me, I'm making a note of when our big staff conference is, because that is a lot of extra people around. We're usually presenting. That just sucks a lot of time, especially work time for me. I also notice if there's any big times that my family's trying to get it together, so I might be traveling and out of the office more. I make a note of the holidays because those are busy times, and just the things that take maybe at least a week of general time. So I'm not going to be worried about the one day that I'm gone or doing something, but the bigger rocks. And then I can look at where is there space to do a little bit more connection with my ministry partners? Where is there maybe a little less space? So I really need to be aware of that. And from there, I've got my checklist of at the end of the year, here's what I want to have done with my ministry partners. And kind of my short suggestion list is every 12 months, your ministry partner should get a personal thank you note. And it's just thanking them for being your ministry partner. It's not thanking them for increasing or starting. It is just, you are partnering with me. Thank you. So that's one thing. At least 6 newsletter updates of, hey, this is what God is doing. Here's what you're a part of. At least 6 of those in a year, which is part of 12 communications to your ministry partners. The idea that they hear from you every month, whether that's either a ministry update, or it might be that thank you note, or it might be a call. They are connecting with you 12 times a year. And also, as I'm looking at my calendar, and this might be even a longer span of when was the last time I visited certain groups of partners? When was the last time I was on the East Coast? When was the last time I made it out to Colorado? When have I had FaceTime with people? That's always in my year-to-year planning, knowing, hey, this year, do I have an opportunity to go to a certain geographical location? And then from there, it breaks down a little differently. And this is where I'll share a little bit about what I do, but Mark does things very different than me. So I'd love to share his weekly kind of connection. What it boils down to is how you like to plan tasks. And I like to do large bulk tasks and get them all done with, which kind of looks like I do all my thank you notes in 1 month. I will sit down and write a couple hundred thank you notes in a month, because that seems easier to me than always having a stack of thank you notes in the corner of my desk week after week after week. So I plan and look at my time to do huge chunks of calls or thank yous or other efforts, so I get them done with and they aren't repeating. But that's overwhelming for other people. So Mark, what do you do every week? Because you are so consistent.
And I think I learned from not being consistent, as you guys have already heard, but one of the things I do is, if you have an NPD software, you can set it to remind you missed gifts, increased gifts, upcoming gifts, all those kinds of things. So that's one of the first things I did is in setting that up. I set some parameters on how I wanted to be notified. And then during the week, you're going to get notifications from that. And I save all of those notifications for Friday morning. I have about 2.5 hours to set aside. And then I go through and I make sure I am contacting people who missed a gift or who had a gift that was bigger or larger than normal or have an upcoming gift. And so that's one of the things that it really is just that maintenance realm. I'm just making sure that that all of those things are taken care of, because it is good relationship with those people and engaging with them and managing things. The second thing I do is I like little more bite-sized chunks than maybe Callie does. So I will save up a group of thank you notes and I will write, about 5 to 10 of those a week. And it kind of makes it a little more manageable. I've known people who wrote 2 a morning, like my parents were in missions and wrote 2 every morning. And then I send individual messages out in a variety of platforms, and I do 25 donors a week. And I just simply ask them, hey guys, how's it going today? I follow up on some of our previous dialogue and I say, what can I continue to pray for you? So I really do like the engagement. And it's been one of my favorite things that I have changed in the last 5 years. And it's like that. And then I do set aside time to make sure I'm communicating well. So that could be, you think, year-end ask, whatever, but those are the times when I plan that out. And then I do, if I'm doing some increase on a different week, I will set aside a time to arrange appointments, have appointments, follow up. So I do a lot of coordinating there. But that's kind of how my time works out for a Friday morning when I'm doing a little bit more specifically.
Well, and I want to pause on something you just mentioned, because I'm actually in the middle of doing increases as well. And that's something that is a part of maintenance, not I am horribly underfunded and I desperately need to do something. It's the idea that you can be proactive. We all know that you're going to have some partners drop off for any number of reasons. You're going to have some giving changes. So you can plan and work it into your schedule when it fits you best, if you are proactive, to actually make that increasing part of your maintenance plan. And that means you have the personal margin to kind of gear up and practice and make sure your presentation materials are all ready to go. It's not the reactive, frantic, worried, you don't know if you're going to get your paycheck this month. Let's not wait till that point.
Yeah, Callie, tell them there's something I wanted to talk about earlier and forgot, but you've got a great example. So what are you doing? What element did you add this year with Kathy for your referrals that may or may not be helping you?
Oh yeah. So I've been in ministry and working on support for around 9-10 years now. And somehow it took me this long to figure out having a coach when you do increases is helpful. I know this is SRS. You think I should know these things, but it was more difficult for me to find a coach when I was most often doing the coaching. And between that and not having a lot of ministry connections when I first started out, a lot of reasons, most of them are excuses. But right now, Kathy, the SRS coaching specialist, is coaching me, and I might not need help to figure out what to say or to figure out what to do, but to have her just on the first hand being encouragement and a support, saying, hey, I know you're doing this. How is it going? What's your plan? How are you moving forward? Is really encouraging, first of all. And I am loving having someone else kind of just process with me as I'm figuring out what it means in this season of Omicron and COVID, how to meet with people, because my first plan basically died a quick death. And so trying to figure out, okay, is this just how I'm seeing things? Do you agree that this could be how this is perceived when I say it this way? And she's just been a huge resource of someone walking with me. Not that she needed to know more than me or come in with a plan that I didn't have. I had all the resources. It's just getting to do it in community is so helpful. And I am seeing amazing results. I had a coach one other time before this, which is what has drilled into me the fact that I need a coach consistently. And the difference between having a coach when I make an increase ask and not having a coach, I usually increase about twice as much when I have a coach. As far as, that is dollar amounts right there, which I know it's people. And I know it means I'm doing a better job at connecting with people, but the tangible outcome that we can measure is the fact that I was able to increase more support. So, oh my word, makes a world difference.
That's remarkable. And where I wanted to place it, I know we're well beyond in the conversation, but Callie said, where should you start? I actually want to go insert this back there. You should start by working on your perspective. And the very next thing you should do is find somebody. Doesn't need to be a coach, somebody to walk alongside you and to kind of join you in the process. Could be supervisor, could be a peer. But it really does help you not do it alone, because there can be some shame and hiddenness. But I also know if, just having like, they show that people who have a workout partner are like exponentially more likely to show up to work out because there's somebody else there. And I think that principle applies here as well. And it does. And then also somebody helping reflect back things you can't see. We all blind spot. So that's a great one, Callie. Well, as we wrap up, or as we move on, anything else you want to make sure we talk about today?
I think we've probably hit on the big ones. I mean, this is a topic we can keep talking for a very long time, but I feel like we've done a good job of hitting the big rocks of where to start is just start, and not getting so overwhelmed with the mountain of things. Starting to communicate at all is better than no communication. And then hopefully you're growing to have some real consistency, that you are reaching out with your ministry partners. They're hearing from you every month. You're planning on increasing. You're also working on carving out this time regularly and having some accountability, having someone in the trenches with you doing that. That is going to be huge to actually be successful. I mean, so we're recording this in January. It won't be released for a little bit, but you can look around you and see who's actually completing their New Year's resolutions. And I guarantee it's the people that are doing it with company are the ones that are making it a lot further. So don't go alone.
Yep. And then again, acknowledging, maybe even doing some journaling, or how is it that you feel, what's going on emotionally right now about support raising. I think talking to the Lord about any shame or guilt or frustration that you feel, he really can handle that stuff. And we feel it. It's true. Like, let's be honest. Like, there are times we dislike support raising and we dislike the complexity it adds to our life. And then if we allow the Lord to engage and we talk through it with him, he can shift our perspective, and it takes some time. And just like we don't like running in the beginning, and then over time, your body adapts and you get used to it and you embrace it. I think that's the same principle here. It's important, but I think that heart step is really significant. And remember, there's a piece of gratefulness, just writing how thankful you are that these people are giving out of their income to help you pursue the vision God's given you. It's sort of a centering piece for me all the time, to think, wow, they've given a lot. I certainly owe it to them in relationship to connect with them and validate them and help them see what they're doing. And so that really drives me in a lot of ways, is just seeing it as a crucial part of my ministry. And you know what? I actually have 2 hours a week to give to this, and I enjoy it now. It's fun. And so I think it's changed. And I know my partners in ways that I never knew them before, as we interact over prayer requests and those kinds of things. It's just really a touching moment. I really enjoyed it every week.
That is wonderful. It gets to be a relationship, not just a transaction. And that's our dream, because it's ministry partnership development. So that is our vision for all of you, as you hopefully can take some of this and run with it. Well, thank you, Mark, so much for joining us today at the Support Raising Solutions podcast, and we wish everyone the very best. Thanks for joining us today, and please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode as we work to give more insight into building and maintaining your ministry partnership team.